Five Nights at Freddy's has one of the most layered lores in gaming history, built almost entirely by fans who piece together cryptic clues across dozens of games, books, and hidden source code. Today I'm breaking down every confirmed theory in the franchise and explaining exactly how we know they're true, starting with the one that kicked everything off. The purple guy is William Afton. The main villain of Five Nights at Freddy's didn't have a name for 3 entire games. Players spent years analyzing a purple pixel man with zero identity, calling him Purple Guy like that was a totally normal thing to do, because Scott Cawthon gave us literally nothing else to work with. The sprite showed up in FNAF 1 and 2 during minigames, clearly murdering children, clearly important, and clearly unnamed. The community just had to deal with that. Then the Silver Eyes novel dropped in 2015 and finally gave this monster a name, William Afton, co-founder of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, child killer, all-around terrible person. But it wasn't until Ultimate Custom Night that the games confirmed it. His name appeared right there on the character select screen. No ambiguity, and if you dig into the source code of later titles, William Afton is hard-coded as a character variable, which is about as confirmed as anything gets in this franchise. But identifying the purple guy was just the beginning, because once fans knew who was killing children, the next question became what exactly happened to those kids. The missing children incident. Every haunted animatronic, every jump scare, every supernatural event in this entire franchise traces back to one single act. 5 children walked into the back room of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. 0 walked out. The newspaper clippings in FNAF 1 and 2 hinted at it. Kids going missing, blood and mucus leaking from the suits, a strange smell coming from the animatronics that customers kept complaining about, but the games never spelled out what happened. You had to piece it together yourself. Then the Silver Eyes novel just said it outright. William Afton lured 5 children into a back room, murdered them, and stuffed their bodies into the Freddy Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Golden Freddy suits, which is, you know, not ideal. The minigames in FNAF 2 and 3 visually confirm it too, showing the puppet giving life to 5 dead children, each one bound to a specific animatronic. 5 kids, 5 suits, 5 ghosts that refuse to leave. Without this confirmation, the games are just spooky robots chasing you down a hallway. With it, they become a ghost story about 5 murdered children who never got justice. That's the difference. But knowing who died is only half the story, because it turns out the guy trying to fix all of this has a last name you'll recognize. Michael Afton is the protagonist. For 3 entire games, everyone assumed they were playing as some random guy. A nobody security guard who answered a bad job listing and got stuck surviving until 6 AM. Turns out no one's sister location changed everything. Hidden dialogue revealed that the technician you'd been controlling wasn't just some employee. He knew William Afton personally. He knew things about the animatronics, about the facilities, about the family history that no random hire would ever know. Then the custom night cutscene dropped the hand's father, recounted their shared family history, referenced the tragedy with his younger brother, and confirmed what the community had been piecing together for years. You were never a random security guard. You were the killer's son, deliberately infiltrating Fazbear locations to undo what your father built. The survival logbook backed this up with hidden messages linking the book's owner directly to Michael. The Fazbear Fright story. The man in room 1280 went even further, depicting a burned man kept alive by a malevolent force that refused to let him die, widely interpreted as William clinging to existence through sheer supernatural spite. Here's the thing, this theory retroactively made every previous game hit harder. Every night you survived wasn't just survival, it was a son walking into his father's house of horrors, knowing exactly whose mess he was cleaning up. That's not a job, that's a punishment. But Michael wasn't the only one trying to stop William Afton. And the other guy, he had an even more personal reason to burn it all down. Henry Emily. For most of the FNAF timeline, Henry Emily was basically a ghost, not literally, although in this franchise you never know. He was a name buried in novels and background lore, a mysterious engineer who co-founded Freddy Fazbear's Pizza alongside William Afton, but somehow received almost 0 screen time. Players knew he existed, they knew he built things. Beyond that, nothing. Then Pizzeria Simulator dropped and everything changed. You played that entire game thinking you were just some schmuck managing a knockoff pizza restaurant, buying attractions, keeping costs down, normal stuff. But the final moments revealed the truth. The entire operation was Henry's trap. He'd been the cassette man all along, carefully luring every remaining possessed animatronic into one building for a single purpose. A controlled burn, a funeral pyre vampire disguised as a pizza joint. His ending monologue is still one of the most emotionally devastating moments in the entire franchise. A grieving father who lost his daughter to this nightmare, finally addressing the trapped souls direct, telling them it's over. Later, lore confirmed what that speech made clear. Henry understood remnant mechanics just as well as Afton did. He simply chose to weaponize that knowledge to destroy his former partner, rather than exploit innocent people. The franchise's hidden puppet master, and you didn't even realize it until the credits rolled. But if Henry's master plan was supposed to end everything, the timeline leading up to it was already a mess. And the single biggest argument in FNAF history, it starts with a bite. The bite of 83 vs 87. This was the Great Schism, the single most heated debate in the entire FNAF community, and it lasted for years. Because here's the thing, both sides had real evidence, and both sides were absolutely convinced they were right. It started with FNAF 4. The game showed us a child's skull getting crushed by Fredbear's jaw in a horrific animatronic malfunction. Immediately, the entire community went to war over one question. Was this the bite of 87? FNAF 1's newspaper clippings explicitly referenced a bite incident in 1987 at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, established canon from day one. But FNAF 4's setting told a different story. The decor, the technology, the TV screens in the background all pointed to 1983. Different location, different era, different everything. So one camp screamed it's 87, the clues are metaphorical, and the other screamed it's 83. Look at the television sets. And they fought about this for literal years. Turns out both sides were right. There were simply two separate bite incidents. The 1983 bite involved Fredbear and William Afton's own son. The 1987 bite happened at the main Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, exactly like the original newspaper clippings described. Two tragedies, two timelines, one very messed up franchise. And that 1983 confirmation didn't just settle a debate, it deepened William Afton's entire backstory by confirming his own child was a victim of the very machines he helped create. Which is, you know, not ideal. But if you think a father losing his son to an animatronic is dark, wait until you hear what happened to his daughter. Circus Baby is Elizabeth Afton's sister location changed everything about how we understood the animatronics. Because Circus Baby wasn't just another haunted robot, she was too specific, too emotional, too aware. From the moment she opened her mouth, players knew something was deeply wrong. She didn't just talk like a machine following a script, she talked like someone remembering things, personal things, things no programming could account for, and the community figured it out almost immediately. The hidden narrative buried inside Sister Location gradually peeled back the truth. Elizabeth Afton, William's own daughter, had been captured inside Circus Baby's mechanical body, not killed and forgotten, trapped, conscious, remembering who she was, where she came from, and what had happened to her. A child's mind locked inside a machine that her own father built. Let that sink in for a second. Ultimate Custom Night confirmed it further when Circus Baby addressed the player with specific family knowledge, referencing details that only someone inside the Afton household would know. The Fazbear Fright series named Elizabeth explicitly, and the Ultimate Guide nailed down her death date and the consciousness transfer into the animatronic. There's zero ambiguity left. And here's what makes this one genuinely hard to sit with. William Afton designed these machines. He knew what they could do, and his daughter walked right into one of them. Circus Baby isn't just a boss fight or a jump scare. She's a little girl who never got out. But if one soul trapped inside an animatronic is devastating, wait until you hear about the one that has two. Golden Freddy Dual Soul. Golden Freddy never played by the same rules as the other animatronics. Every other haunted suit in Freddy's had a pattern. They moved through hallways, they followed paths, they behaved like broken machines with a grudge. Golden Freddy, he just appeared. No movement, no footsteps, no logic. 1 second your office is empty, the next there's a slumped golden suit staring at you, and then your game crashes. That's not haunted animatronic behavior. That's something fighting with itself. And for years, nobody could explain why. The other 4 animatronics from the Missing Children incident were relatively straightforward. One soul, one suit, one very angry dead child. But Golden Freddy flickered between passive and violently aggressive, displayed awareness the others didn't have, and seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. He was less possessed robot and more supernatural glitch in reality. Here's where it finally clicked. The Fazbear Fright stories, specifically the new kid and out of stock, established something critical. Multiple souls can occupy the same animatronic body through Remnant, 2 consciousnesses, 1 shell, and the Ultimate Guide confirmed exactly that. Golden Freddy houses both Cassidy, one of the original 5 murdered children, and Evan Afton, William's youngest son, the kid who died in the bite of 83, 2 souls, 1 broken suit, both fighting for control. That's why Golden Freddy never behaved normally. He wasn't malfunctioning, he was 2 entirely separate people trying to operate the same body at the same time. And the fact that one of those souls belongs to William Afton's own child, that's not just tragic, that's the Afton family curse working overtime. But if 2 souls sharing one body sounds complicated, wait until you hear about the substance that makes it all possible. Remnant and soul splitting. For years, FNAF had a massive problem nobody wanted to address. Dead kids were possessing animatronics. Everyone accepted it. The games ran with it. The community built entire theory frameworks around it, but nobody could explain how it actually worked. A child dies near a robot and then what? The soul just moves in, sets up furniture. There was zero mechanical explanation for the most important supernatural event in the entire franchise. Then Sister Location started pulling the curtain back. Characters openly discussed consciousness transfer and body swapping like it was a Tuesday afternoon. Suddenly, the franchise wasn't just saying ghosts and robots, deal with it. It was hinting at actual rules governing how souls interacted with physical objects. But the real breakthrough came from the Fazbear Frights books. These stories depicted consciousness being split across multiple hosts, fragments of a single soul operating independently in different bodies. And here's the kicker: Remnant being artificially manufactured, not just naturally occurring through tragedy, but synthesized on purpose. Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator then named Remnant directly, buried in blueprints revealed during the Insanity ending. Remnant is a metaphysical substance created through trauma and death that binds consciousness to physical objects. It can be transferred between hosts. It can be split into fragments. It can be synthetically replicated. This is the franchise's unified field theory. Without Remnant, every haunted animatronic is unexplained magic. With it, every soul transfer, every impossible consciousness event, every possessed endoskeleton across every game suddenly operates under one coherent system. But if you think the lore couldn't get any more controversial, wait until you hear about the theory that almost burned the entire community to the ground. The Dream Theory FNAF 4 broke people's brains, and honestly, it's hard to blame them. You go from surviving nights in a pizzeria to hiding in a child's bedroom while nightmare animatronics crawl through your hallways. The technology didn't match. The location didn't match. Nothing made sense. So the community did what the community does. They built a theory. A massive chunk of the fan base became convinced that FNAF 4 wasn't real. The whole game was a dying child's nightmare. A fever dream playing out in the final moments of a kid who'd just had his skull crushed by Fredbear. The distorted animatronics, the surreal house setting, the complete disconnection from every established rule. It all pointed to one conclusion: none of this actually happened. Some fans went even further, questioning whether other games in the series were dreams too. Here's the thing, they were right and they were wrong. At the same time, Scott confirmed that FNAF 4 does filter its events through a traumatized child's subjective perspective. The nightmare animatronics aren't literal, but the bite of 83 depicted within it, that actually happened. The kid actually died. The core tragedy is real, just wrapped in layers of unreliable narration, so thousands of fans spent months building elaborate dream frameworks only to learn the answer was messier than either side predicted. FNAF 4 introduced something the series had never used before, the idea that what you're seeing might be true and distorted at the same time. But if the dream theory taught us anything about unreliable perspectives, wait until you meet the woman who literally became 2 people, Vanessa and Vanny. Here's the thing about Security Breach. The game gives you 2 threats that shouldn't be able to exist at the same time. Vanessa is the security guard. Blonde, seemingly helpful, pops up throughout the Mega Pizzaplex to warn you about danger. Vanny is the psychopath in the rabbit mask, actively trying to murder you. Same height, same build, same hair. And they never ever appear in the same room together. The community figured this out almost immediately. Players started mapping their appearances across the Pizzaplex and realized the logistics simply didn't work. For Vanessa and Vanny to be separate people, they'd need to be teleporting past each other in hallways, swapping locations faster than physically possible. The game's own endings confirmed what everyone suspected. Vanessa and Vanny are the same same person, but here's where it gets dark. This isn't a natural split personality. The Vanny persona is externally imposed, a direct result of Glitchtrap's consciousness manipulation worming its way into Vanessa's mind and hijacking her body. She's not choosing to put on the mask, she's being piloted. The Ruined DLC explored her psychological state in brutal detail, and the Ultimate Guide confirmed it outright. Vanessa is a singular person subjected to technological consciousness control. She's not the villain, she's the vessel. That realization flips the entire game. The scary rabbit chasing you through a neon pizza palace is actually the same woman trying to help you on the security cameras, and she can't stop either version of herself, which is, you know, not ideal. And that digital possession pulling Vanessa's strings, it connects directly to something far worse lurking in the code, the Mimic and Glitchtrap. This is where FNAF stops being a ghost story and becomes something way scarier. When Help Wanted dropped, it introduced Glitchtrap, a digital manifestation of William Afton's consciousness that could literally infect human minds through VR technology. You put on a headset and this thing could worm its way into your brain, which is, you know, not ideal. Then Help Wanted 2 introduced the Mimic, an entity with eerily similar manipulation capabilities and the same ability to spread through digital systems like a plague. The community immediately assumed they were the same thing, but here's the kicker, they're not. The Mimic is its own separate entity, an AI originally designed to learn by copying behavior. It just happened to copy the most dangerous person in FNAF history. It mimicked William Afton so perfectly that it became nearly indistinguishable from the real thing. Here's why that's arguably worse. Remnant already proved consciousness can bind to physical objects. Souls can attach to animatronic endoskeletons and just stay there. So William Afton achieved digital immortality through Glitchtrap, terrifying on its own. But now there's a completely separate AI that learned everything Afton ever did and can replicate his behavior across any connected system. The man didn't just turn himself into malware, he accidentally trained a second version of himself that he doesn't even control. Most franchises would have stopped at Evil Guy comes back as a zombie. FNAF said Evil Guy becomes a digital consciousness, and an independent AI learns to perfectly imitate him. So now there are two problems. Cool. Add that to the list of reasons to never put on a VR headset. But if you think a digital William Afton and his copycat AI are unsettling, wait until you hear what the franchise did to Gregory. The Gregbit theory. Gregory is not a human child. At least that's what a massive chunk of the fanbase believes. And honestly, the signs they point to were there the entire time. Throughout Security Breach, players noticed things that didn't quite add up. This kid accesses digital security systems with the proficiency of a trained engineer. He executes physically impossible feats for a child his size. He interfaces with mechanical infrastructure like he was built to do it. The Security Breach Ruin DLC added more fuel to the fire. Through environmental storytelling and subtle details, the game gave theorists even more to work with, without ever outright confirming or denying anything. That's classic FNAF. The theory suggests Gregory could be an android, potentially a transferred consciousness inhabiting a mechanical body, a kid who might not even know what he truly is. Let that sink in for a second. If the theory holds, the character you spent an entire game protecting, guiding through a nightmare, making decisions for, never human. Every emotional beat, every desperate escape, every moment you felt something for this kid, that was the experience of an artificial consciousness navigating a world it might not fully understand. And here's the thing, if you connect this back to everything we've covered today, Remnant, soul splitting, consciousness transfer, Gregory might be the ultimate expression of what this entire franchise has been building toward. The complete dissolution of the line between human and machine, person and program. That boundary barely exists anymore in FNAF's universe, which is, you know, not unsettling at all. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.